Hello, Year 11. Let's talk about springs. That's the first thing we'll cover. A little bit of revision. Springs, there are three things you need to know with springs. Let me just cleverly do that. There are three things you need to know about it. There's the force, the spring constant, and the extension. Force equals spring constant times extension. The force is obviously how much force you're putting on the spring. The spring constant is how stiff the spring is. If a spring has a high constant, it will be strong, it'll be hard to stretch and hard to squeeze. And the extension is just simply how many meters it stretches, or whatever unit it stretches or compresses. It's got to be, the units are of course newtons for force, spring constant is in newtons per meter, and extension is in meters, but it's often given in millimeters, so you need to convert that to meters, which we can all do. Just divide by 1,000. There is a second formula down here, which is elastic potential energy stored in a spring. So when you squeeze a spring, it's got energy stuck in it, and that is a half times the spring constant times extension squared. Be careful, only square the extension. So if the spring constant was, say, 400 and the extension was 0.5, then it would be 0.5 times 400 times 0.5 squared. Okay, and that will tell you how many joules of energy was stored in the spring. Okay, this bottom one is a little bit more complicated, isn't it? The other thing you need to know about springs is this. This is the a graph to show the stretch of the spring against the force there. It can be shown both ways. Sometimes force goes there and extension there. And it basically shows a straight line. In other words, the more force you put on it, the more it stretches. Or the more you need to stretch it, the more force you put. And it's directly proportional. Force is proportional to extension on there. So that's the sort of thing you need to be able to use in the exam. Okay. Thank you. Try doing the questions now. I've set some questions, some exam questions on that. Good luck, and let's see how you do.